Well, hey everyone and everything, and welcome back to more Hollow Knight. In the last episode, we defeated the 7th and final Dream Warrior, the Markoth. May your efforts lead you somewhere worthy. Well, I'd say they did. They led me back up here to the Colosseum, where we defeated the final trial, the Trial of the Fool. In this episode, well, I think it is high time that we traveled on back to Dirtmouth and finally turn in those 3 flames we collected for Grimm. I don't even know how many episodes ago. I'm gonna go ahead and equip Grimm Child. Just for fun, I'm gonna go ahead and equip both Mark of Pride and Long Nail for an exceptionally long nail. In fact, let me go ahead and show off a comparison real fast of all the different lengths you can have. I guess that last difference isn't too tremendous. But trust me, even those tiny extra few pixels feel monstrous now. Very good. The child burns with flame. Master is waiting for you. Wonderful, wonderful. My kin arrive, and the time has come. The searing fire. It carries well the ritual's promise. Dance with me, my friend. The crowd awaits. Show them you are worthy of a starring role. Grimm is probably the most blisteringly fast opponent we have yet fought. This utter speed demon has 5 completely unique attacks, each one extremely threatening in their own way. Some of them are combos, most of them affect the vast majority of the arena, and he teleports constantly to ensure there's no getting too far away. In a way, he feels almost like a combination of several of our toughest foes, and beating him will require an intimate knowledge of what he's capable of. Specifically, the Fire Dash, the Double Dive, the Fire Bats, Curtain Call, and Firestorm. So let's launch in with the Fire Dash. To begin with, this feels almost like a typical dash and slash maneuver, set apart only by how tall Grimm is. But he will always follow up immediately with his uppercut, which ends in a burst of 5 fireballs. 1 always falls directly beneath him, and 2 on each side arc out to be evenly spaced. Already we're getting into some pretty complex stuff. This is a fight which I almost can't imagine tackling without the Shade Cloak, and this attack is the main reason why. He teleports in so close, he starts this attack so fast, and he's so tall that reliably jumping over the initial dash feels overwhelmingly difficult. Dashing away is always an option, but if you want to get a hit in, you're going to want to stay close. Additionally, this is one of those fights where being in the corner is really uncomfortable, so we're primarily going to try dodging in a way that keeps us centered. So when you see this wind-up animation, dash straight through him. Then don't bother with the headache of trying to dodge the outer flames. You want to be right next to the one that's directly beneath him. So when he dashes upwards, dash to stay with him and stay safely in this zone. This attack also has some unique reactive properties. If, during his wind-up, you get too close, he'll do this little backstep before either winding up again or switching tactics and using fire bats instead. That's kinda weird, but cool too. You get the sense that he wants to keep his distance from you, that he's actually trying to avoid you. The double dive feels pretty similar to the fire dash, only starting high and ending low. He'll dash diagonally towards you from the air and follow up immediately with a second dash along the ground. This is a rare instance of a boss changing their attacks to react to your behavior, and this second dash will always charge in your direction. I recommend dodging the initial dive with a Shade Cloak, once again in his direction, and then jumping pretty much as soon as you can, since you already know that he's gonna dash towards you. Of course, a nail pogo here is always a good idea. The fire bats are some of the most involved projectiles we have yet seen. He can begin this attack with a backstep, just like the one he can start the fire dash with, should you be too close to him when he appears. He'll launch 3 bats in a row, all starting roughly at ground level. They can all home in on you vertically, but they can't stop moving in whatever horizontal direction they were launched in, so as soon as you're behind one, it's not a concern. This makes the area generally above their starting point the safest place to be, so once this attack begins, you can take a leisurely double jump over towards Grimm and get in some damage when he's done. If you're thinking that maybe it'd be a good idea to get behind him while he's stuck launching bats, that's some sound logic, but unfortunately Grimm is smarter than that. If you ever get so close to him as to be above or behind him while he's doing this attack, he'll simply teleport away and launch one more bat for good measure. So, if you want to get in some damage, you're gonna have to let him finish first. Additionally, though it's extremely rare that this will ever come up, the column of fire above his arm is also a hitbox. The curtain call is an extremely dangerous attack if you let it psych you out. I get it, all these spikes come up from the ground and give you only a second to react. It can feel tempting to just dash and pray you land somewhere safe, but dodging this attack is usually just a matter of taking a single step to the left or right. Don't get fancy, don't panic, just give the knight a single nudge. From here, you have a variety of options. You actually have enough time to heal off a single mask. You could launch a spell at him, but be aware of the kickback. Or, if you're decently close and feeling gutsy, shadow dash through the spikes to get in close enough to land some slashes. Whatever you want to do, I just recommend taking advantage of this window. His final attack, Firestorm, is most likely the attack you'll see him do first, since he always begins the fight by bowing. If you interrupt this bow by striking him, he'll get mad and launch right into this attack. Otherwise, he'll only use it when he reaches certain HP thresholds, 75%, 50%, and 25% specifically. As for the attack itself, I mean, this is the craziest attack we've yet seen, flooding the whole screen with projectiles to dodge. The area directly beneath Grimm is nearly impossible to stand, with fireballs coming too fast and sporadically to reasonably avoid. Things are a little more orderly on the sides of the screen, but no less intense. The fireballs essentially fly along 6 tracks in a series of columns. There's guaranteed to be at least one gap in both the top and bottom halves, so here's my recommendation. Just assume that the top 3 tracks are always dangerous, and only focus on the bottom 3. You'll want to be decently far from Grimm, but with some wiggle room between you and the corner in case you need to back up to dodge a set. Dodging when tracks 1 or 3 are empty is easy. If just track 2 is empty though, well, this is our first instance of something that requires you to do a partial jump since this, way back in our first visit to the Forgotten Crossroads. It's honestly remarkable that we've gotten this far without the game calling on this skill, but now it's time to either learn or burn. Just in case you don't know, cause I know I didn't for a while, a partial jump is something you can do by releasing the jump button before the knight reaches the peak of his jump. Doing a full jump is done by holding the button at least until he starts falling. But by letting go early, you can perform jumps of all different heights. Try tapping the jump button, or trying all sorts of different rhythms to get a feel for it. The bottom row of fireballs requires slightly more than just a tap to clear it. Without partial jumps, you'll be forced to rely on your dash, which is just not reliable. Now, during this attack, or while he's in what everyone seems to call his pufferfish form, he is immune to damage from your nail, but very much not so from spells. You can take advantage of this if you're quick or precise enough, either by releasing an Abyss Shriek when he starts the attack, or launching some Shade Souls from midair when you get a decent gap in the fireballs. Finally, we break down the game plan. I want to talk about his stagger state because it's completely unique. In this state, he has no damaging hitbox, and unlike other staggers, he won't get right back into the fight after being hit. Instead, he'll always stay staggered for a set amount of time. Obviously, this is a great time to heal, since this little hitbox of his can be tough to hit while it's jittering all around. But because of its unique properties, you can actually unload some really decent damage with an Abyss Shriek here. No matter what, just try to take advantage of the downtime. Now, for our plan of attack, Grimm here refers to this fight as a performance, or a dance. And when you get the hang of it, it honestly feels that way. Avoiding attacks isn't so bad if that's all you're focused on, but because he teleports so frequently, getting in your damage requires you to pull off some pretty cool looking maneuvers. There's a lot of ebb and flow, back and forth between attacking and evading. For our part, we want to stay at center stage, and give all of our focus to what position he's in when he appears before each attack. If he's off the ground, you immediately know he's either going to use the double dash or Firestorm. The double dash is best dodged by dashing underneath him, and while that's not the case for Firestorm, it has enough of a wind-up that if you do dash under it, you have plenty of time to reposition to where you actually want to be. So every time he appears in midair, dash forward. His 3 grounded attacks are all unique, and there's no catch-all technique to dodge them all. You'll have to get by knowing what each specific telegraph indicates. The fire dash is the fastest, but also the easiest to differentiate. with his arm and cloak up in this scythe-like form. The fire bats have his arm straight out towards you, and the curtain call has these pretty tough-to-miss spikes all over the ground. Now, you could do a lot worse than to assume that every time he appears on the ground, he's about to use fire dash. As long as your dash isn't spaced so as to land you directly where he's standing, you'll probably be okay, since he'll move away from you if it's the bats, and he himself isn't really a threat during curtain call. Even still, I'd say relying on dashing towards him whenever he appears on the ground is a crutch. Lean on it if you have to, but you're better off just trying to recognize the different telegraphs. If you can do that, and get to grips with dodging Firestorm, then you've got this fight in the bag, but man, that just sounds like a lot of work, doesn't it? If only there was some way we could just skip all that. If only we could get the reward for beating Grimm without actually, doing the boss fight. If only. That's right. Or we could do it the real man's way. Step 1. Get your charms set up. Obviously you need Grimmchild to even start the fight, but beyond that, we're going to be needing Shaman Stone, Spell Twister, and Grub Song. Odds are that you'll still have 2 extra charm notches after that, and you can really put anything you think will help here. I went with Lifeblood Heart for some extra insurance, but Stalwart Shell is also a really good choice. Weaver Song or Fragile Heart can work just as well. Step 2. For even more insurance, take a quick hop up to King's Pass and grab a couple life seeds to really beef up your health. Step 3. Jump on down to the crossroads and farm the easy enemies there for soul until you are full to the brim. Be sure not to sit on the bench on your way back, or you'll have to do Step 2 again. And Step 4. Enter the arena, begin the fight, and trigger his Firestorm attack by hitting him during his bow. From there, stand almost directly underneath him, not quite centered, and unleash Abyss Shriek after Abyss Shriek, pouring in hundreds of damage onto his very large and very stationary hitbox. Since you're doing so much damage, by the time he's done using Firestorm, he should already be at his next HP threshold to use it again, and so on. Obviously, you're going to take a lot of damage, but that's just going to restore soul with Grub Song, and all you need to do is last longer than he does. If you don't take him down before you run out of soul, he'll probably only have about 100 health left, which should be no problem to finish out. So that's less of a dance and more of a screaming match, but let's just call it artistic license. Let's begin. And I would say I am quite worthy, my grim friend. While we're doing this fight, and yes, I'm not cheesing it, just because this is one of my very favorite fights in the whole game, and skipping it just feels like a disservice, but it's definitely something you can do. Anyway, while we're tackling him, I want to talk just a little bit about what Grimm is, because he's not really a bug, or at least he doesn't seem like he is. He doesn't bear a lot of the similarities. He's more bat-like in nature, which would make him the only non-bug creature in this entire game. Oh, I love the little applause that the crowd does throughout the battle. It's just one of those little details that really gets me. I've seen some people speculate that maybe he's a vampire moth, which would be thematically appropriate, but he doesn't really look like one. I don't know. I don't have the answer. It's just something that... It's one of those questions that fascinates me. Ouch. But with him doing 2 of those, we know he's already halfway down. It is nice that he has 4 so evenly spaced super attacks that he likes to do. Makes it really easy to gauge exactly how far down you're going. Ow. And while... Interesting little tangent, while I was plugging his stats into the difficulty formula, I was kind of surprised by how low it ended up being. I expected him to be at least a 5 seal foe, but the fact that he ended up being only 4 was kind of interesting to me, and I had to really, check and be like, am I sure? Is this really how low he is? But when it comes right down to it, if it's just about avoiding attacks, he's really not a problem. It's dealing the damage back where it becomes an issue. But if you just run away from everything he does, avoiding him is actually really simple. So it sort of makes sense in that regard. And he should be just about done for here. Definitely one of the longer fights that we can do. But all things must come to an end. Always good to give a nice little bow back. Bravo, my friend. Hear how the crowd adores you. They've not seen such a show in a long time. Look here, how our child has grown, nourished and strengthened by the heat of our passionate dance. The two of you will feature in many tragedies and triumphs together, I'm sure. And so our great ritual nears its end. Will you continue to harvest the flame, even though now you surely see the path it illuminates for us? Our scarlet eyes will watch you keenly, friend. Go out into the darkness, harvest the last lingering embers of this kingdom, then return to me, and we will complete our dance. We get the achievement Grand Performance, and, best of all, the final charm notch, bringing our total charms available up to 9, I believe. Is that 9? 11. That's not 9. Okay, whatever. Really nice, unique chest here. It's the only seen at this point in the game. And, of course, we have gotten an upgrade to our Grimm child. He now does more damage than he did, which is pretty nice. A new land, different from the last. How many more will we see? The roads between are dark and long, but the Master's light will always guide us. It's still not really clear exactly what these guys are all about. But I'm going to go ahead and use that last charm notch to equip the Wayward Compass, because today we are going to go out and find those flames. We can see 3 here, 1 in the Hive, 1 down in the Ancient Basin, 1 somewhere between Deep Nest and the Fungal Wastes, and a 4th, interestingly enough, way over in the distant village. It actually wouldn't be surprising if you didn't notice that one was there. Now we're going to go ahead and start with this one because it occupies a fairly large swath of area that perhaps has probably been killing you to know what's there. So our little tour of the world is going to start once again in the Queen's Station, but before we venture out, I do want to talk to someone who it feels like we visit surprisingly often. Willow here is the same species as what I believe are called the Grimm steeds, those creatures that sit outside the tent of Grimm. She doesn't seem to have any other affiliation with Grimm other than the fact that she is red and has this little red tent, but it's interesting. We don't usually see creatures who are the same species as one another not being affiliated with each other in at least some way. Back in the fungal wastes, it feels like it has been a very long time since we've been here. I don't actually remember the last time. I guess technically we did cut through here on our way to do the Queen's Flower, or the Fragile Flower. But if we come down here where we first met Cornifer, there's something really odd here. A mushroom. Gungi, Gungi, Mishi, Umo Sanga, Pogi Udungo? Yeah, man. Worms pull bugs into their thrall, till ages pass and kingdoms fall. Caps and shells may fall to dust, but Mr. Mushroom readjusts. You know, competition for weirdest NPC is pretty steep. But Mr. Mushroom takes the cake for sure. Only 2 hits from our Grimmchild to take on one of those guys. I say only, that's a little bit pathetic. I'm not gonna lie. This is still not a very strong charm. But better than a sharp stick in the eye. Now I'm going to go ahead and equip Spore Shroom, because this is not the first time we've come across something mushroom related that we couldn't understand or read. And both times, all we needed was this thing in order to translate. Alright. How about now? It's nice that you were able to help your friend. So you're not hungry anymore? Yes, that was quite the appetite. I was impressed. Still, we all move on sooner or later. To greater things, perhaps? So much can be achieved in such a short time. Oh, excuse me. Well, that just raised more questions than answers, I would say. But now he's gone, elsewhere. Maybe we'll run into him again, maybe not. Hard to say. In the meantime, we're gonna head down to the Mantis Village. Feels really nice being able to take those guys out in one hit. So it's this door here, which we could have accessed ages ago. As soon as we got the Mantis Claw, in fact, we could have come into this room. But I didn't. I was trying to be efficient. And I knew that eventually we would have a call to come down here, thanks to the Grimm side quest. So I was putting it off until then, but perhaps this was a little bit later than it should have been. Get another Wanderer's Journal. I'm sure Lem will be less than enthused. And this, I've been wrong about this twice, I think, is truly, well and truly, our final whispering route. There it is. No more of those. Of course, there's no real reason to keep collecting essence now that we are past 2400. There's no rewards for anything past that point. But it does feel nice just for completion's sake. Now this jump here fully requires us to have the double jump. So we couldn't have really done anything in that room other than get the Wanderer's Journal way back when we very first got access to it. But we are now in a new area of sorts, or a sub-area, called the Fungal Core. And this is a really large area, sort of strange actually. It's filled with a lot of mushroom enemies, which in the past have given me trouble. Get another rancid egg there. More things for money that we're probably, let's be honest, not gonna need. And another geocache. But as we're going down here, I also want to talk just a smidge about the mushrooms, just because we haven't had much reason to do so in a very, very long while. They are... do I actually... Ooh, that was a nice shortcut. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I may have mentioned this before. Forgive me, it has been a good long while. With those fungal ogres. Remember when those were almost a boss fight? What was that? 4 hits? So the shroom people, or whatever. Yike! Okay, that didn't work. Did that work? Kinda. Oh my goodness. Oh jeez. I can see you're still there. I think I took him out actually. The shroom people are telepathic, is the thing I want to say, and saying it again, I feel like I already said it. But having the... Oh, jeez. There's so much stuff in here. Having the charm here, the Spore Shroom, it gives us sort of access. Because, to that mushroom hive mind, composed of living fungal matter. 4 hits. Alright, yeah, not bad at all. So that's a pretty interesting take on things. Now, that definitely wasn't the bottom. Forgive me while I completely get lost here. Oh, here we go. Further down into the Fungal Core. So it's just a really interesting race to put into this world, because a lot of bugs are hive minds, of course. We actually... I don't think any of the bugs we've seen in this game technically qualify as ants. But we did have the bees. There's a lot of hive minds in the actual insect kingdom. But even the bees themselves, they never seem to address that. Oh, another nice little shortcut here. It's nice getting all these fungal ogres. They do have a pretty hefty requirement in the Hunter's Journal. And farming just the one way back up by Leg Eater would be a pretty lengthy process, I would say. So we're just going to keep heading down. Eventually, we are going to reach the flame. Here it is. Okay, meet the Nightmares. If you thought the Grimmkin Masters, I think that's what they were called. were a pain. These guys are even worse. Way more health. They do 2 damage with each of their attacks. Ow, which includes that thing. I don't like you. But at least the area that this one has chosen to set up in is a little easier to actually deal with him in. He has all the same behavior, it's just that all of his attacks are a little tougher to dodge, have more projectiles involved. But that's that. I think, of the 4, since there are 4, we have an option. We don't have to take down any specific one of them. We can take down our chosen 3. And I think this is probably the one that's the most out of the way. But since this is an area I wanted to come eventually anyway and hadn't already explored thoroughly, it all kind of worked out. Hail worm, what good to foresee a demise unavoidable? Another teeny bit of lore. We did hear from, oh, I don't remember his name, the really big guy up in Kingdom's Edge, that worms had a sort of foresight. But way down here at the bottom, we actually saw this masked shard way back when we first entered Deep Nest. But it is the very last one to collect, and we get the achievement Masked for finally attaining the last mask. Which brings our total up to 9, and our little heads-up display there is officially complete. I had no reason to come in here to the Mantis Village. I love these ladies. And now, I guess there is a little reason here. You can actually see there was once a 4th throne here, now broken or shattered or something. Whenever the traitor Lord decided to split off and find his own way, it seems that he was banished. Or something involving shame, I'm sure. Anyway, for our second flame, let's head down to the hidden station. And up in this area above where the tram was, we can see we're in the area of the flame now. And forget what I said. Ooh, hey, wait, which one was that? I think that was this one of the very first we've ever seen. A thick orange mist fills these waking corpses. It has a sweet, sickly taste to it. I find it foul. After you kill these creatures, I suggest you do not eat them. It's interesting, I feel like we could have gotten that one ages ago. It's weird that we didn't. But another little allusion to the infection. Don't worry, Hunter, we're on top of that. Now here's our nightmare, and forget what I said about the last one. This is a very annoying looking arena here. Ow! Yike! At least we got the Shade Soul now. No worries about that. Get out of here. Alright, I'm gonna use some of my, Ooh, there's a good dash slash. Something that is kind of weird about the dash slash is that until you have it, I mean, it makes sense. It's just... Oh, geez, even his contact hitbox does too. We are only 2 hits away from dying if he has his way here. Let's at least turn that into 3. Yike, there we go. Yeah, these guys are tough. Anyway, so yeah, something a bit strange. If you were to have the Great Slash, but not the Dash Slash, and you were to release the button after dashing, the game wouldn't let you use Great Slash for a pretty hefty window until after dashing, because it reads your input as trying to do the Dash Slash, which of course you don't have. While we're here, we might as well look at some of these entries. A terrifying member of the Grimm troop. As part of the ritual, it gathers scarlet flames within its torch. It will relinquish the flame once defeated. Dance and die and live forever. Silent voices shout and sing. Stand before the troop's dark heart. Burn away the Nightmare King. Actually, all of these are pretty interesting. Shadow dream of endless fire. Flames devour and embers swoop. One will light the Nightmare Lantern. Call and serve in Grimm's dread troop. Spark of red lights, darkest dream. Scarlet nightmares bring the wild. Visions dance and flames do speak. Burn the father, feed the child. All a bit oblique as far as references go. We may be able to extrapolate a little bit more, whoopsies, about, what we're even doing Now we could go down to the hive. We actually weren't too far from it where we were. But I want to go way over to this one in the distant village. This one is really close to a station after all. And this one's a little bit harder to find. But head inside this lower building, which didn't serve any purpose before, except to see all of this prey wrapped up in silk. And we find... you came. The red flame I've gathered from this dead kingdom. You would claim it, for our master, for his final act. The ritual plays itself out once more. We are like the notes in an old, old song, you and me. Endless, repeating songs of sacrifice, of servitude, for the ritual, for the troop, for the master. Even this child was born into invisible chains. So, we serve. Thus it has ever been, yes? Take the flame, then. It is why you came here. It is done, and yet, it is not merely by fortune that we meet here, in the darkest, furthest reaches of the world, where my master's scarlet eyes cannot see us. A song that never ends is no song at all. You take part in the ritual, yet I sense you truly have no master. Is it so? Perhaps together we can banish that livid flame, and let this dead kingdom rest in peace. If you wish to silence the endless song, meet me where it began. But if you return to the master and complete the ritual, as long as you do it without regret, I will bear you no hatred. Yes, we are merely vessels for the flame, but were we always empty? It seems we have been presented with a choice. End the song or perpetuate it. This will take some consideration, or an alternate file made for just the express purpose of showing the endings I don't want to get on my main file. So we're gonna go ahead and head up to the stag nest, because the point where it all began, that Brum was talking about, is the lantern we first lit before we ever met Grimm himself. And it is kind of nice having a stag station way up here in the top of the world. I can't imagine we'll ever have call to use it again, but you know, it's there. Like that, appreciate that. Alright, now the place that this was underneath the alcove where we first met Cornifer. Way down here, and then down again, and right through here. This corpse that we first struck with our dream nail to summon the lantern itself is still here, who we now see bears a lot of resemblance to the nightmares that we just fought in order to gather some flame. Perhaps his purpose was pretty similar. But anyway, so you followed me here to where the ritual began. You would join me in breaking it then. It is painful to defy the master, but our harvest, it profanes this dark, quiet kingdom. This once, I would see the ritual fail. Now, let us destroy the anchor and banish the master. Never shall he return here again. Master, are even you a slave? If so, let our chains be broken together. And with that, all trace of the Grimm troop is gone from the kingdom, and we get the achievement Banishment. Even the bug we first struck is now mysteriously gone. On top of that, our Grimm child has disappeared from our inventory. And just as long as we're here, I might as well show something kind of interesting. By using that Vengefly and the Monarch Wings, you can absolutely jump your way all the way up here to the stag nest. And by doing that, you can, in fact, access this area without finding every station. Just a cool little tidbit. It doesn't really affect too much. You can't even summon the stag here because the bell is broken. But it is there. Back in Dirtmouth, there's a new face in town. And the Grimm Troop tent is absolutely gone. A fair warning, Eternal, or Emelita? Anyway, she's gone too. You cannot improve your fragile charms into unbreakable ones if you banish the Grimm Troop. So I'd highly recommend getting that done before sending them away, if this is the route you intend on taking. Oh, wait. What? I haven't talked to him on this file? Elderbug, I'm so sorry. Aha, good riddance. That creepy carnival has vanished, and the town's returned to its former self. Nice and quiet, as I like it. And we've gained a new addition to the square. I found the fellow just outside of town. Seemed a little confused at first. Claims to be from far away, though he's hazy on the details. Whatever his past, he's a rather good musician, and this town spent far too long listening only to the wind. Thanks to him, we've gained a new tune and some new company. You only have all the dialogue that I've already seen. That's I don't know how to feel about that. Well, anyway, who are you? Ah, hello. I'm new around these parts. It's so marvelous to see a friendly face in such a sad town. The old bug over there was very welcoming, but still I find the place a little melancholy. What with the wind and the darkness and the sense of decline, I was hoping my music could go some way to livening up the place. And now you've arrived with that wonderful, charming aura about you. The whole town feels brighter for it. Before you hurry about your business, I've a small gift to commemorate our wonderful new friendship. No use for it myself, but I believe it'd look rather fancy upon you. Please enjoy it, and let's hope to see much more of one another about town. My dear friend, are you enjoying my music? It's as upbeat a tune as I know, but I must admit, even it falls a little on the sadder side. Please know I play it with joy. Being in this town, besides such good company as yourself, I feel refreshingly content. Why did I choose to travel here? And how far must I have come to forget the origin entirely? So this is pretty obviously Brum. He has the same accordion and at least a somewhat similar shape, though his stature is much reduced. Maybe something about being part of the Nightmare Troop gives you increased size and strength? Unclear. Well, the charm that he gave us, the Carefree Melody, is a 3-slot charm, which contains a song of protection that may defend the bearer from damage. This is really cool. It's sort of random, but basically it makes it so that every few hits, if, you know... it's not doing it yet, but just wait. You'll see. Every few hits. I said every few hits. Maybe one day. I do have it equipped, right? I do. Okay, here we go. This is the one. There it is. It will completely protect you from damage, and it doesn't matter what the source of that damage is. Even if it's an attack from a Radiant boss fight in Godhome, it will completely negate all of the damage. If it's to a spike, you'll still respawn at your last solid ground, but that spike will also not do damage. So it's a really cool charm, and it's definitely the highlight of taking the banishment route down Brum's choice. Now, just as long as we're here, we might as well check in on what else people feel about the departure of the Grimm Troop. And if we head into Cornifer's house, we see that he is safe and sound at home. After mapping the entire world, he's earned himself some rest. Cornifer's home at last, but look at him. He's exhausted. He always does this. Furiously charts a place, then collapses once he's done. He'll be sleeping for some time, I imagine, so even with him home, I'm still lost for company. Ah, but I do love the bug, even his faults. Seeing his passion for maps, it's something of an inspiration. Corny keeps asking me to join him on his adventures, and I've always declined. Maybe next time I should accept the offer.
冇嘛，謝謝你。
A stylish fellow's made his way to town. Normally I'm wary of musicians, all pomp and ego. This one seems okay, and he's not asked for any geo just yet. Let's hope it stays that way.
我捧上咗。
Are you enjoying yourself down in the ruins? At times, my husband makes Hallownest sound a wonder, but sometimes it seems a ghastly, dangerous place.
我捧上咗。
I'm glad I put down my weapon. This quiet life with Horny makes me a lot happier. It would be nice to stretch my legs again, though. Sometime soon. I wonder how powerful she really is. Unfortunately, there's no way to get up to Cornifer to hear his dreams, but all that matters is that he is content, and unlike many other bugs that we've met in our adventures, he survived his large journey. Another bug's arrived, and quite a racket he's making in the square. Worse, he's not got a geo to his name, only that blasted squealing instrument. Why is it always the poor that decide to stay? You seem a little different. Something has changed in your bearing. Ah, the way you hold your nail. So, you've learnt a nail art. Very interesting. I wonder, do you have the passion to continue your training?
Oh, come on, yeah.
You found a new nail, then. It looks like a much finer weapon than the last. Oh, this is the same nail, but it's been honed by someone extremely skilled. A nail is an extension of ourselves. It is the instrument by which we shape the world around us. It's a sacred duty to keep its edges sharp. Heh, sorry. I shouldn't ramble on like that. Let's talk Geo instead. Some other dialogue that I never saw. Some hints as to Sly's true nature, should you speak to him before earning the Nailmaster's charm. But that is going to do it here for now. That was more than productive. We finished at least one route on the Grimm quest. Another time, we will go down the other. In the meantime, thank you guys very, very much for watching. In the next episode, I think we're going to do something that has probably been very high on the list of things people watching this may be anticipating. See you guys then. Either by releasing an Abyss Shriek when he starts the attack, or launching some tongue twister. Or launching some shades, some shade souls, jeez. Or launching some shade, or launching some shade, Jesus. Or launching some shade souls. This is my fault for writing it this way. Or launching some shade souls from midair. Oh, I almost had it. Or launching some shade. Jesus. Or launching some shade souls from midair when you get a decent gap in the fireballs. That's it. Nailed it. First try.